A hug looks simple on the surface, but it carries a lot more meaning than most men realize. In modern dating, physical moments like a hug often set the tone for how a woman feels about you afterward. It's one of the first real points of close contact, where comfort, attraction, and emotional awareness all mix in a single moment. Many men rush it, overthink it, or treat it casually, and in doing so they miss an opportunity to create a strong impression without saying a word. A hug is not just about contact, it is about control of presence, calm energy, and how grounded you are in yourself when you are close to her. Women notice everything in that moment, even things you think are invisible. Your posture, your timing, your tension, your confidence, your stillness. Stoic behavior plays a big role here because it keeps you steady and natural instead of nervous or performative. When a man is calm in that moment, it creates a sense of safety and attraction at the same time. When he is uncertain or rushed, it creates distance even if the hug is physically close. In this video, you will learn simple but powerful things you can do during a hug that change how she perceives you. These are not tricks or forced behaviors, but small adjustments in awareness and control that make your presence more impactful. If you understand these moments correctly, a simple hug becomes something she remembers longer than expected, and it shifts how she responds to you afterward. 1. Stay still first. When you go in for a hug, most men make the mistake of rushing through it like it's just a quick greeting, but the real impact starts before the movement even finishes. The first thing you should do is stay still for a moment when you make contact. Don't immediately pull away. Don't fidget. Don't adjust your position too quickly. Just hold your ground calmly. This stillness communicates control without a single word. It shows that you are not nervous, not seeking approval, and not trying to impress her through speed or performance. You are simply present, and presence is powerful because it forces her to settle into your energy instead of feeling like she needs to react to yours. In that brief pause, she becomes aware of your posture, your breathing, and your stability. And that awareness creates a subtle emotional impression that lasts longer than the hug itself. Many men underestimate this because they are focused on the physical act rather than the emotional signal, but women pick up on energy first, and stillness signals confidence. When you stay steady, you are also avoiding the common mistake of overexcitement, which can make the moment feel rushed or unstable. Instead, you create a grounded experience where she can actually feel your composure, and this is where Stoic behavior becomes important, because Stoicism teaches restraint and control over impulses. So instead of reacting to the moment with tension or urgency, you remain calm and intentional. This calmness is what separates an average interaction from a memorable one. It makes her subconsciously register you as someone who is not easily shaken, someone who is comfortable in their own presence. And that alone can shift how she interprets the interaction, because in modern dating, many men come across as reactive or overly eager, and when you show the opposite, you stand out naturally without trying too hard. Staying still first also gives you awareness of her reaction. You can feel whether she leans in, relaxes, or stays neutral, and that information matters because it tells you how comfortable she is in the moment, but you are not analyzing it in a stressed way. You are simply observing while staying grounded. And this balance between awareness and control is what makes the moment effective. You are not chasing a reaction, you are allowing one to unfold, and that subtle difference changes the entire dynamic of the hug, making it feel more intentional, more composed, and more emotionally present without forcing anything at all. 2. Control your pressure. The way you hold her in a hug says more than most words ever could, and one of the most overlooked details is pressure. Many men either go too soft, which feels disconnected, or too tight, which can feel overwhelming, but the goal is controlled pressure, steady, balanced, and intentional. When you place your arms around her, you are not grabbing, you are not holding loosely like you're unsure. You are simply setting a calm level of contact that feels grounded. This communicates emotional stability because pressure in a hug translates into presence in real life. When it's too weak, it can feel like you are emotionally absent, and when it's too strong, it can feel like you are compensating for insecurity. But when it is balanced, It feels natural and confident. She becomes aware of your steadiness without feeling restricted, and that creates comfort, not tension. Stoic control plays a big role here because you are not adjusting constantly or second-guessing yourself in the moment. You decide your level of contact and you maintain it. This consistency signals inner control, and women pick up on that faster than most men realize. Because inconsistency in physical behavior often reflects inconsistency in emotional behavior, so when your pressure is stable, it sends a message that you are stable. Another important part of this is not overcorrecting once the hug has started. Many men become self-conscious mid-hug and start adjusting their grip or posture, but that breaks the natural flow of the moment and creates tension. Instead, you commit to your presence, you stay steady, and you let the moment exist without interference. This is where attraction builds quietly, not through intensity, but through calm certainty. She begins to feel that you are comfortable being close without needing to prove anything, and that feeling is what separates forgettable interactions from memorable ones, because emotional memory is often tied to how safe and grounded someone felt in your presence, not how dramatic the moment was. Controlled pressure also helps regulate distance emotionally. You are close enough to feel present, but not overwhelming enough to feel invasive, and that balance creates intrigue. Because she is not being pushed or pulled, she is simply experiencing your steadiness, and in modern dating, where many interactions feel rushed or uncertain, that steadiness stands out. It slows the moment down in a natural way, and when a moment slows down, awareness increases, and when awareness increases, emotional imprint deepens. So something as simple as how you hold her becomes a silent message about who you are, and if done correctly, it leaves her with a stronger sense of your presence even after the hug is over, because the body remembers stability, and stability creates attraction without effort or explanation. 3. Breathe slowly. One of the most powerful but unnoticed things you can do during a hug is control your breathing, because your breath reveals your internal state more than your words ever will. When a man is nervous, rushed, or uncertain, his breathing becomes shallow or uneven, and that energy transfers directly into the moment. But when you breathe slowly and steadily, you create a completely different experience. You project calm, control, and emotional stability without saying anything. During the hug, you should not hold your breath or breathe erratically. Instead, you should maintain a natural, slow rhythm that matches a grounded state of mind. This is where Stoicism becomes practical, because Stoicism is not about acting cold. It is about maintaining internal control regardless of external pressure, and breath is one of the simplest ways to demonstrate that control. When she is close to you, she subconsciously picks up on your rhythm, and if your breathing is calm, her body naturally begins to feel more relaxed as well. This is not something she thinks about consciously. It is something she feels, and that feeling becomes associated with your presence. Slow breathing also prevents you from overreacting in the moment, because many men ruin physical moments by overthinking them while they are happening. But when you are focused on your breath, you stay present. You are not rushing mentally. You are not trying to perform. You are simply existing in the moment with control. And that presence is what creates emotional impact. Another key point is that controlled breathing helps regulate tension in your body. If you are stiff or overly tight, it shows. And if you are too relaxed in a careless way, it also shows. But steady breathing keeps your body balanced, which makes your posture more natural and your hug more comfortable. This balance is what makes the interaction feel safe and confident at the same time, and safety is a major emotional trigger in attraction. When she feels physically and emotionally at ease in your presence, she becomes more open without even realizing it, and your calm breathing contributes directly to that state. It also helps you avoid unnecessary movement, because when your breath is steady, your body naturally becomes still, and that stillness reinforces the grounded energy you are projecting over time. These small details combine into a stronger impression. She may not remember every second of the hug, but she will remember how she felt in it, and breath plays a central role in shaping that feeling. So instead of treating the moment as something to get through quickly, you use your breath to slow it down internally, which changes how it feels externally. And that difference is what separates an ordinary interaction from one that lingers in her mind longer than expected. 4. Let her settle in. When you hug a woman, one of the most overlooked moments is the first second after contact, because that is where she decides how comfortable she feels, and most men ruin it by being too fast, too eager, or too uncertain. Instead of letting her body adjust naturally, you should allow her to settle into the moment at her own pace while you remain steady. This means you are not forcing closeness or adjusting constantly, you are simply holding space. And that space matters because it removes pressure from the interaction. When she steps into your hug, her body is processing proximity, tension, and emotional cues all at once. And if you stay calm and still, you give her nervous system time to relax. This creates a sense of ease that becomes associated with your presence. Many men make the mistake of trying to maximize the moment by tightening the hug too quickly or changing position too soon, but that interrupts her natural adjustment process. And instead of feeling grounded, she feels rushed. Stoic awareness changes this approach because you are not trying to control her reaction. You are controlling yourself, and that control is what creates comfort. Letting her settle and also means you are not seeking validation through the hug. You are not adjusting your body to see how she responds. You are simply present without expectation, and that lack of pressure is powerful because people open up more easily when they do not feel emotionally managed or directed. In that brief moment, she begins to sense whether you are stable or reactive, whether you are grounded or uncertain, and that impression forms quickly, often before either of you even think about it. When you allow her to settle, you are also showing emotional maturity. Because you are not rushing intimacy or trying to accelerate closeness, you are letting it form naturally, and that patience stands out in a world where most interactions are fast and attention-driven. She may not consciously analyze it, but she will feel the difference between a rushed hug and a grounded one, and that feeling becomes part of how she perceives you afterward, because emotional memory is built in these small, quiet moments, not just big events. And when you give her space to adjust within your presence, you are signaling that you are comfortable with silence, with stillness, and with not forcing outcomes, which is a strong Stoic trait. It shows that you are not dependent on immediate feedback or reaction. You are simply steady, and that steadiness creates trust at a subconscious level because her body recognizes stability faster than her mind can explain it. So instead of treating the hug as something to control, you treat it as something to allow. And in that allowance, she naturally becomes more relaxed, more present, and more aware of your grounded energy, which is exactly what makes the moment memorable without any need for extra effort or words. 5. Keep your hands calm. Where your hands go and how they behave during a hug says more than most men realize, because hands reveal intent instantly, and women are highly sensitive to that kind of nonverbal signal. The key is simple. Keep your hands calm, controlled, and natural without wandering or fidgeting. When you place your hands during a hug, it should feel stable, not searching, not restless, and not overly expressive. Many men make the mistake of moving their hands too much, adjusting their grip repeatedly, or trying to create extra physical signals to seem more confident, but in reality that creates tension and uncertainty. Calm hands communicate composure. They show that you are not nervous or trying to prove anything in the moment. You are simply present. And presence without excess movement is powerful because it feels grounded. Stoic control applies directly here because Stoicism is about restraint, not overreaction, and your hands are one of the easiest places to show that restraint. When your hands remain steady, she subconsciously interprets that as emotional control, because physical behavior often reflects internal state. If your hands are steady, you appear steady. If they are restless, you appear unsettled. And women notice that difference quickly even if they cannot explain it. Another important part is avoiding overfamiliar movement too early, because too much exploration or unnecessary touching during a hug can shift the energy from grounded to forced. Instead, you maintain a simple, respectful level of contact that feels natural and confident. This creates a sense of safety in the interaction, not pressure, and safety is a strong emotional trigger in attraction. When she feels that your presence is controlled and not chaotic, She becomes more relaxed around you, and that relaxation is what allows attraction to build quietly without effort. Keeping your hands calm also helps you stay mentally centered, because when your body is steady, your mind follows, and you are less likely to overthink the moment or try to manage her reaction. Instead, you remain focused on simply being present, and that presence becomes the main impression she takes from the interaction. Many men underestimate how much women read into small physical details, but the truth is, she is not just feeling the hug, she is interpreting it, and your hands play a major role in that interpretation. Calm hands suggest confidence without aggression, interest without pressure, and control without force, and that balance is what makes your presence stand out, because it is rare in a world where many interactions feel rushed or uncertain. When you avoid unnecessary movement, you also avoid breaking the emotional rhythm of the moment, which allows the interaction to feel smooth and uninterrupted, and that smoothness is what makes it memorable, because she does not feel like she had to adjust to you. She simply experienced you as you are, steady, composed, and intentional, and that impression stays longer than any words spoken before or after the hug, because physical calmness creates emotional clarity, and emotional clarity creates attraction without noise or confusion. 6. Don't rush the exit. The moment the hug is ending is just as important as the moment it starts, and this is where most men lose the impact they just created, because they rush out of it as if they are trying to avoid awkwardness or move on quickly. But that speed destroys the emotional rhythm of the interaction. Instead, you should control the exit with the same calmness you used to enter it. There should be no sudden release, no abrupt step back, no nervous adjustment. Just a natural and steady separation that feels intentional rather than reactive. When you rush away, it signals impatience or discomfort, and that breaks the grounded energy you built during the hug. But when you exit slowly and smoothly, you maintain control over the emotional tone until the very end. Stoic behavior is especially important here because it teaches restraint. Even when the moment is ending, you are not trying to escape the interaction, you are concluding it with presence. And that difference is felt even if she does not consciously analyze it. A controlled exit tells her that you are not anxious, not uncertain, and not seeking validation from the moment. You are simply finishing it on your terms. Another key point is eye contact or brief acknowledgement right after the hug. Not in an exaggerated way, but in a calm and natural way that reinforces presence without forcing connection. This creates a sense of continuity instead of abrupt separation. Many men underestimate how the ending shapes memory, but psychologically, people remember endings more strongly than beginnings, so how you exit the hug often defines how the entire interaction is stored in her mind. If you leave in a rushed or distracted way, it weakens everything that came before it. But if you leave in a calm and composed way, it reinforces the impression of stability. Also, do not overstay just to extend the moment unnecessarily, because lingering too long out of uncertainty can create discomfort instead of attraction. The goal is balance. You stay long enough to feel present, but not so long that it becomes forced or awkward. This balance shows emotional awareness, which is a strong signal of maturity. When you control the exit properly, you also avoid the common mistake of breaking the emotional flow with unnecessary words or nervous gestures. Instead, the moment ends the same way it began, steady and grounded, and that consistency leaves a stronger impression than intensity ever could. She walks away not feeling overwhelmed or confused, but subtly aware that the interaction felt different, more controlled, more composed, and more intentional than most. And that feeling is what lingers after the physical contact is gone. Because the mind continues processing emotional stability even after the moment has ended. And when a man handles the exit with calm control, he completes the impression of confidence that was built from the start, making the entire experience feel complete rather than cut off suddenly, which is what makes it stand out in memory without needing anything extra or exaggerated. 7. Stay emotionally neutral. The final and most important thing during a hug is your emotional state, because everything you do physically is powered by what is happening internally. And if your emotions are unstable, it will show no matter how controlled your actions look on the surface. Staying emotionally neutral means you are not overinvested in the moment. You are not trying to force a reaction, and you are not attaching your self-worth to how she responds. Instead, you are simply present, calm, and grounded in yourself. This is where Stoicism becomes the strongest tool, because Stoicism trains you to remain steady regardless of external feedback. When you hug her from that state, you are not seeking validation through closeness. You are not trying to create a specific outcome. You are just experiencing the moment without internal pressure, and that changes everything, because emotional pressure is what makes most interactions feel tense or unnatural. But when that pressure is gone, the moment feels lighter and more authentic. She can sense when a man is emotionally neutral versus when he is emotionally dependent on the interaction, and that difference affects how she feels in your presence. Emotional neutrality creates space, and space allows comfort to grow naturally. It also prevents you from overinterpreting her reactions during the hug, because many men make the mistake of reading too much into small movements or responses. But when you are emotionally neutral, you are not reacting internally to every detail. You are simply observing and staying grounded. This keeps your energy stable and prevents unnecessary tension. Another important aspect is not trying to extend the hug for emotional gain. Because when you are emotionally neutral, you are not trying to extract validation from the moment. You are simply allowing it to happen and end naturally. This makes your presence feel more mature and less emotionally demanding. And that is often what stands out the most, because in modern interactions, emotional control is rare. Many people unconsciously seek reassurance through physical closeness. But when you don't do that, it creates a different kind of impression, one of independence and internal stability. Emotional neutrality also helps you avoid post-interaction anxiety, because you are not overanalyzing what happened or trying to decode her response immediately after. You simply let the moment exist and move forward. And that mindset keeps you centered overall. Staying emotionally neutral during a hug is what ties all the previous steps together, because without it, stillness, pressure control, breathing, patience, calm hands, and smooth exits lose their meaning. But when your internal state is steady, everything else aligns naturally, and the hug becomes a reflection of your overall presence, not just a physical action. And that is what makes the interaction stand out long after it ends, because emotional stability is something people remember even if they cannot fully explain why it affected them. And that is where real impact comes from: not force, not performance, but controlled, steady presence from start to finish. When you combine all of these things, the hug stops being just a casual moment and becomes a reflection of how you carry yourself in real life. Because what she feels in that brief contact is not created in that moment alone. It is revealed in that moment. Your calmness, your control, your patience, and your emotional balance all show up without effort when they are already part of you. And that is why trying too hard never works, because it exposes instability instead of hiding it. The goal is not to perform a perfect hug. The goal is to be a man who naturally brings stability into physical closeness without losing himself in it. When you stay grounded, breathe steady, move with intention, and remain emotionally neutral, you create an experience that feels different from what she is used to, not because you are doing something dramatic, but because you are not doing anything chaotic, and that contrast is what makes it memorable. She may not analyze every detail in the moment, but her mind will register how she felt around you, and that feeling becomes the impression you leave behind. So the next time you are in that situation, don't focus on impressing her with intensity. Focus on staying centered in yourself, because that is what actually shapes attraction in subtle but lasting ways.